If you were to disappear tomorrow, what would people think? Would they be shocked, surprised? Or would they have secret suspicions about what actually happened to you? I guess what I'm asking is, if you disappeared tomorrow, would your family and friends think that it was crime or an accident? My name is Brienne, and I'm the host and creator of Among the Dirt and Trees, a show where we explore true crime cases that occur out in nature. In today's episode, we're going to discuss the disappearance of William Moldt, a man who was missing for 22 years before he was finally found dead in a local pond. This is his story, and it's one that I think that we should consider for all future missing persons cases. William Moldt was an average guy. On the day that he disappeared, he was 40 years old. He had a good job as a mortgage broker, and as far as we know, he was very happy with his girlfriend at the time. On the day that he disappeared, he was spending some time at a local nightclub. William worked very hard for his money and his life, so it wasn't unusual for him to decompress at nightclubs and bars every once in a while. Now, post-COVID, this might seem unimaginable. For me, it kind of is in general. I've never been to a nightclub, and I can't really imagine it's my kind of scene, but for a guy like William, it was the place to be. Just like always, he was enjoying some drinks and having a good time. Witnesses would later report that while he did have a decent amount to drink, he didn't seem all that intoxicated, and this was part of what made the subsequent events so strange. Let's explore what we know about the details leading up to his disappearance. At 9:30 p.m., William placed a courtesy call to his girlfriend that he would be home soon. It was November 8th, 1997, and this wasn't an unusual occurrence from what I could tell. Now, unfortunately, William was a bit of an unreliable narrator in his own story here. He told his girlfriend that he would be leaving soon, but he didn't actually leave until 11. I think that a big reason that so many of us are interested in true crime is because of the realism of it. While it is absolutely horrible and can be really scary to imagine, the fact is that these things did happen. But the family and friends never really know how badly things have gone at first, and this time slip really stuck out to me for this reason. I had to sit down and imagine what this disappearance would be like for his girlfriend. At first, I have to assume that she was probably just really annoyed. He said that he would be home soon, and he wasn't, so that's not cool. Obviously, he's out at a nightclub without his girlfriend, so that can certainly make the mind run as well. A bar? Okay. A nightclub at 40? I don't know about all that. But I have to assume that there was a moment where that annoyance or even anger began to shift as the hours pass. And we see this a lot with kids that go missing. There's always a point where parents go from being mad that their kid isn't home to realizing that something truly terrible must have happened to them. And that happened here. At some point, it became clear that despite his phone call, William wasn't coming home. So what happened, right? Well, that's kind of the problem. William disappeared and police had nothing. They asked around and got a fairly good gauge on his evening. They learned that he drank, but no one seemed to think that he was too impaired to drive. There weren't any suspicious characters lurking around. No one saw anyone follow him to his car. All reports show that he just left the nightclub and never made it home. But that isn't how it all works, right? William probably wasn't abducted by aliens or carried off by some ghost. People don't just disappear, something happens to them. But police could not figure out what happened to William on the day that he vanished. He was simply there 1 minute and gone without a trace, and he didn't disappear alone either. William was driving his car, which also seemed to disappear without a trace. Police never found it. But eventually, someone else did. It just took 22 years to do it, and a whole group of people. In 2019, a man was looking at his old neighborhood on Google Earth. And I think this is kind of a fun and weird thing to do because what he was really doing was looking at his ex-wife's current house. Now, I won't make any assumptions about what he was doing. Divorces are hard, and there is a chance that he just wanted to look back at his old home in his own neighborhood. But also, he was totally Google stalking his ex's house, and I really hope that he wasn't being weird about it. I suspect that he wasn't, but we'll get to that later. While reviewing the Google Earth images, he began looking at a lake in the center of the neighborhood back behind the house. And that was when he saw what appeared to be a car beneath the dark, murky green water. So, he called his ex-wife, clearly still on good terms with her, and asked her what she thought. She agreed that it did look like a car, so she asked her next-door neighbor to check it out since the pond was right behind his property. He walked out, but he didn't really see anything. In the images, it's really noticeable, but something else is too. That water is seriously gross. It is this dark, deep green that I'm sure makes it nearly impossible to see through from the shore, and I promise you nobody is getting in this thing, unless, they have to go retrieve a car. But the neighborhood wasn't ready to give up just yet, even though they couldn't see anything. These neighborhood sleuths actually decided to recruit a third neighbor because he had a drone with a camera. He agreed to fly over the pond, and there, clear as day, was a car beneath the water. A car that no one had ever noticed before. So, a call was placed to police, and they went in to tow it out, thinking it was just a busted old car until they found the body inside of it. Between the car and the body, they were able to determine that it was William Moldt, and obviously he was dead. When police went missing, I'm sure his family had a few theories regarding his disappearance, but by the time police found his body, there wasn't much of a story to tell. Between the time and the water, there wasn't a lot to see with William, but there was enough for police to have a leading theory. They believe that William wasn't murdered or a victim of foul play in any way. They think he simply drove off the road into the pond and likely drowned. And despite the layout of the area now, it actually makes perfect sense for when he disappeared. All of the surrounding homes were built after his disappearance. And that means that people were building houses and moving into this neighborhood without even knowing that a corpse was tucked away behind their yards. Of course, given the state of the body, we also can't say for certain that something more treacherous didn't happen to poor William. But I do think that it serves as an interesting reminder. So often, when we think of missing persons cases, we tend to automatically think about kidnappings and murder. In a world that can feel like there isn't much mystery left, we often forget that little accidents can still happen. Sometimes, when someone goes missing, it isn't a murder. It isn't a kidnapping. It isn't a crime at all. It just means that something happened and they haven't been found yet, even if they were just sitting out in a local neighborhood. So, you are welcome for not horribly scarring you with a terrifying tale of bloodshed today, and I hope that you will always remember to tell the people that you care about just how much they mean to you, because you truly never know what might happen. And of course, if you want to discuss nightclubs, which I know nothing about outside of movies, next level Google stalking, or the hilarity of a gaggle of neighbors banding together to solve a local mystery, feel free to contact me on Twitter or Instagram using the tag @datpod. Thanks, guys.